Hi, this is Sarit Switzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast. This is episode 541 for the 26th of Iyar in a regular year. So there's a really strange misconception among some secular people, not all, but some, who think that Judaism is a patriarchal religion, that in Judaism, women are seen as second-class citizens and men are higher somehow. And nothing could be further from the truth. And there are many examples of why this is in Judaism, but today, the one that I'm going to focus on, which is really in a certain sense the most prominent of all of the examples of the importance of women, is the fact that the actual Jewish identity of a person actually goes through the mother and not through the father. So that if you have, for example, two parents, one of which is Jewish and the other one is not Jewish, if the father's the Jewish one, the resulting child is not Jewish. The Jewish lineage is lost. Whereas if you have the mother who is Jewish and the father is not Jewish, then the resulting child actually is Jewish. So this really demonstrates to us the power of the woman, I think, in the sense that it's the woman and not the man who has the power to perpetuate the Jewish lineage. So the reason why I'm bringing this up today is because today we're going to be learning about another type of mother. Not a physical mother, the way that we usually think of mother, but rather a more spiritual, supernal type of mother. And we'll learn how this more spiritual, supernal type of mother is actually the origin of all of the vitality that we experience here in this world. So the Alter Rebbe doesn't make this comparison, to be clear, but I do. To me, it was very noticeable that just as a Jewish woman, an actual physical woman, she's the one that transmits her Jewish vitality into the child. So too is it the supernal female aspect, and not the male, but actually the supernal female aspect that transmits the vitality to the entire universe, to the entire world. And this is why, in case you've ever noticed, the word Shechina, which is the term that we use for the indwelling of God here in this world, is actually a feminine word. It's in Hebrew, then there's some words that are female and some that are feminine and some that are masculine. So Shechina is one of those words that is feminine in nature. And so we'll learn today why that is, and because really what the Shechina is and the source of that Shechina is actually from a feminine aspect in God, from a place which we actually call mother, for the supernal mother. So let's get straight into the text, and I think things will become clearer and more interesting as we go on. So here we go. So we're actually beginning a new chapter today. It's chapter 52, but we'll see that it really does relate to what we've been learning so far in terms of how, if you've been following the last few episodes, how it is that while God's presence is everywhere in the world equally, just as our soul is everywhere in our body equally, nevertheless, the revelation of God can be more pronounced in certain areas, just like the revelation of the soul can be more pronounced in certain areas. So we said, like, in terms of the soul, so far that's what we learned, is that the revelation of the soul is more pronounced in a sense in the brain, and that the vitality of the entire body really flows through the brain. The brain is like this intermediary place through which the soul is able to send the vitality to the whole body. So here we go. So the Alter Rebbe begins, and he says that just like the soul of man, the main revelation of its vitality is in the brain, as I just mentioned, and all of the organs receive their light and the power from this brain, from this source in the brain. So too by way of analogy, we understand that the main revelation of the vitality of the world to the vitality of God that he uses to vitalize the entire world and all of the creatures that are within them is found in his blessed will, in his wisdom, in his understanding, and in his knowledge, which are called his brains. So in Hebrew, it's the Ratzon is the will, then there's the Chochma Bina Das, again, that Chabad that we've been bringing up a lot. So basically, just like for the soul, just like for the body and the way the soul manifests within the body, the mainstay of that soul, where it is most revealed, is in our minds and our brains. So too for God, the chayus, the vitality that he flows into the universe, into the world, the mainstay and the revelation of that is in his brain. And this brain, this chokhmah bina and das, they get vested in God's Torah and in God's mitzvahs. So we've learned this previously, that the manifestation of God's will and the manifestation of God's wisdom is in his Torah and mitzvahs. And so now, because this is the case, so we can say that basically the mainstay of this vitality that all the worlds receive in a particular way is here in the brain of God, so to speak. And so that the chayus, the vitality that these different worlds get, all they're getting is just like a small radiance that's coming out from this source. Like we can, what we can liken this to is like with the sun, by way of analogy. So just like the light that comes out of the sun, it's like the light that comes out of the sun is just a small radiance than the light that's within the sun itself. And also we can understand this in the same way that the powers that we have in our organs and the organs of the body, the powers that they get from the brain are also, it's just like a radiance from the brain. So we all recognize that the brain is much more powerful than the rest of the organs of the body. And it's sort of like the controller of all of the organs of the body, and the sun as well. The sun is like the controller of all the rays that come out of it. So here too, by way of analogy, we're talking about God, and we're talking about God's influence on the world and how this vitality and influence that he sends forth, the mainstay of that and the source of that is really in his brain. And then the Alter Rebbe says that this source is called Alma de Itzgalia. This is called the world of manifestation, the world of revelation. And so another word for the Alma Deskalia, which is what it's called in Chassidus, is Matrinuta, which in Aramaic means queen. And it's also called Ima Tata, nether mother, the lower level of mother. So meaning why? Why is it lower mother as opposed to higher mother? So higher mother is Bina. So Bina is that attribute of understanding. And that's like in the actual brain, so to speak, of God, when we talk about God's brain. But then when it becomes manifest as like, okay, now we're going to come and reveal in the world, we're going to reveal our influence in the world, this manifests as the lower mother, which is the attribute of malchus, as we'll see, the attribute of sovereignty. And we also call it the Shechina. So this is, again, this word Shechina, which is like the divine indwelling of God. And it comes from the Lashon, from the language of V'shachanti b'tocham, and I dwelled within them. And so this source is the source for this revelation of the infinite light of God that comes down and that shines in radiance to all of the worlds in a revealed way. And from this source, every single being, every single creation receives its vitality in a way that is suitable to it, in a very specific and particular way. And this dwelling, this divine indwelling, dwells within it and rests upon it in order to vitalize it. And so this is why another term that we use for this is Em Habanim, the mother of children, by way of analogy. And we also call it Knesset Yisrael, which is the community of Israel. Why? Because from this source is where all of the neshamos, all of the Jewish souls came out, whether we're talking about the neshamos of Atzilus that emanated from there, or the neshamos of Bria, and etc. And so again, every Jew comes from a different spiritual source. So they all come from this Knesset Yisrael, this community of Israel place. And so all of these different souls and everything, they are only just a drawing out of the vitality and the light that comes from this source, which is called Shechina, just like the light which emanates out from the sun. So that's the end of the section for today. So just to recap, basically what we learned is that just as for us, our soul is present inside of our entire body. There's no like one place that the soul is more present than the other. Nevertheless, we do you understand the fact that the soul is a little bit more revealed, or a lot more revealed, I should say, in the brain? So, and that the vitality of the entire body comes through the brain. So for God, the same process happens. That for God, when God is vitalizing the entire universe, he too, so to speak, has his own lahavdil brain. There's the will, the wisdom, and understanding and knowledge of God. And from there, then this like vitality flows out, and it's not God's brain itself. It's a revelation of this brain, of this vitality that comes down in a radiance form. And the form that this radiance, this revelation takes, is a feminine form, and it's called the mother. It's called the lower mother. It's called the queen. It's called the Shechina. And this is the source. This is like the mother hen from which all of the energy flows into the entire universe, into the entire world. And so when we refer to the Shechina, when we refer to the divine indwelling that's found within everything in the world, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about this source, this life flow. And it's also, another word that we use for it is the Knesset Yisrael, which is the source of all Jewish souls. Because as is taught elsewhere, Jewish people are also essential really to the vitality of the entire world. We are, believe it or not, keeping the world in existence. So that is it for today, and we will continue tomorrow, and I'll speak to you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shechina. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.